Could the Commanders make a big move here before the NFL trade deadline? I've got the latest Commanders trade rumors, including some big names like Chase Young and Devin White here coming up on today's show. And then also on today's show, I'm going to tell you why Sam Howell is going to be the franchise quarterback for the Washington Commanders for the foreseeable future. I've seen his film the first 2 weeks. I've been seriously impressed. I got his scouting report coming up. And then also some very impressive defensive stats for your Washington Commanders through the first 2 weeks, which makes me think this might be one of the best defenses in the National Football League. But before we get into today's action, make sure you get down there and get us started right now. Get down there in the comment section and grade the Commanders' performance here throughout the first 2 weeks. Give me an A, a B, a C, a D, or an F. So whenever you get a chance here, get down in the comment section and let me know how you're feeling about the Washington Commanders. Now let's talk about some of the more juicy rumors going around Commanders Twitter lately. First and foremost here, I was somebody that after the Denver Broncos game, especially with how well Sam Howell played, I thought there's a really good chance that Jacoby Brissett, the backup quarterback here in Washington, could be on his way to the New York Jets. Man, you look at a guy like Jacoby, played in a very similar offense to what the Jets run now. Last year in Cleveland with that kind of second-generation West Coast offense, he was very efficient. He was top 10 in value per snap, according to the points above replacement model. And those numbers come from Sports Info Solutions. But listen, man, Jacoby is just super solid. Good footwork, strong arm, good mental processing. He's not going to do much for you in terms of playmaking outside of the pocket or running with the football, even though he's one of the best in terms of the short yardage, kind of the QB sneak in the National Football League. But the reason why I thought he could have been traded this week, and he hasn't yet, is because Zach Wilson just has not played well in his limited action here throughout the first couple of weeks. Of course, Aaron Rodgers goes down with a season-ending Achilles tear, and Wilson comes in and has not looked good whatsoever. Under 55% completion percentage, just 310 yards in 2 games, and he has double the amount of interceptions as he does touchdowns. Now, obviously the Bills defense and the Cowboys defense, both of those defenses are really good defenses, probably top 10 in the league. The Cowboys might have the best unit in the entire league. But here's my take on this. I'm not sure if the Commanders or the New York Jets are the ones that are not interested here. It's very possible that Washington is just like, we don't want to trade Jacoby. He's one of the best backups in the league. We want him on the team just in case Sam Howell gets hurt this year. That's extremely possible. But listen, the Jets are desperate, and reports have indicated that they have had internal discussions about Jacoby Brissett, and they might be willing to trade the Commanders potentially a day 2 pick, a third-round pick, in order to get him on their roster. If I'm Ron Rivera, if I'm the GM Martin Mayhew, I'm having a serious conversation about whether or not to take that, because although Jacoby's a very valuable piece in terms of a backup quarterback, a third-rounder in next year's draft, an additional one, could be another starter for your roster here, which would be absolutely fantastic as well. Now let's move on to the next trade rumor here, which is that the Commanders have been linked by Bleacher Report to potentially trade for Devin White here before the NFL trade deadline. I think this one is very, very interesting. You look at a guy like Devin White, former top 5 pick out of the University of LSU, great athlete, great leader, great locker room guy throughout the 2023 season to this point with the Buccaneers. 14 tackles already and a tackle for loss. He's somebody that I might not be super high on. I think that he grades a lot lower than maybe the public perception has of him because he's next to Levante David in that Buccaneers defense. People think that he's better than he actually is. But listen, the Commanders need help in the middle of their defense here with the inside linebackers. And I'm not talking about Jamin Davis. He's been just fine here to start this season, in my opinion. I'm talking about Cody Barton, the free agency pickup here this year, who has looked absolutely atrocious throughout the first couple of weeks. I've suggested potentially even starting Khaleke Hudson over Cody over the past couple of weeks. He has not looked good whatsoever. He's one of the lowest graded inside linebackers in the league. And Bleacher Report had this trade idea here that would send Devin White to the nation's capital. He'd be the bona fide number 1 linebacker here, and he'd be probably a team captain moving forward. But you have to send a second-round pick to the Buccaneers, and you probably have to give Devin White a new contract, because if you're giving up a second-round pick to get this guy in your building, you're going to give him that extension. You're going to make sure he's in your building for a while. I'm not too sure how I feel about this trade. I see the need at inside linebacker, but I think this is a pretty steep price to pay for a guy like Devin White. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Would you accept this trade if you were the GM Martin Mayhew? Type A for accept, or type D if you're going to decline. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube is going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. Take advantage of that time by telling me whether you're accepting or declining this trade. For me personally, although I can see both sides of the argument here, I'm declining this trade. I just don't really see the value in this trade other than putting in, a decent inside linebacker to fill out the role with Cody Barton. I'd rather go into free agency or even put Khaleke Hudson in over Cody Barton because I like the rest of this defense. I don't think you have to make a major investment in both draft capital and in terms of a big contract extension in Devin White. Even though he has his upsides, I'm going to decline this trade. Now, another rumor going around here, and this is a free agency rumor, not a trade rumor, is that Bleacher Report has connected offensive guard Roger Saffold to the Washington Commanders. I think this one's pretty interesting. You guys have heard me talk about Ben Jones, who, by the way, is still available in NFL free agency. Really good center, former guard with the Tennessee Titans. But Roger Saffold played with the Buffalo Bills last year. He's been a starter in this league for a long time, only allowed 2 sacks in 2022, and he is still available on the open market. Bleacher Report says with guys like Sadiq Charles at left guard right now, the Commanders could really use another guard, and I've been saying this for weeks, guys. You take a look at this offensive line right now. I think Sam Cosmi has done a really, really nice job to this point. Nick Gates, I love the effort that he has at the center position, although he might not be the highest graded guy. Andrew Wiley, Charles Leno Jr., they've had some struggles, and then Sadiq has had some troubles as well. I could really see Roger Saffold fitting in well with this system, fitting in with this offense. And listen, I'd rather have Ben Jones. I think he's definitely the best interior offensive lineman on the market, if not the best free agent, period, still available on the open market right now. But I would take Roger Saffold over a guy like Sadiq Charles, solidify this offensive line, protect Sam Howell, give Brian Robinson Jr. Some more running lanes to use. I think that'd be absolutely fantastic. I'm on board with making this kind of move. Then the final trade rumor going around here is for Chase Young. That's right. We talked a lot about Chase Young trade rumors throughout the offseason. No deal was ever able to happen. But now Bleacher Report is listing Chase as the number 1 trade target in the National Football League for teams to target before the NFL trade deadline. And the reasons for that are obvious. Former number 2 overall pick, very high upside player. And there's teams out there that could really, really use another high-end edge rusher. And the teams that they connect Mr. Young with are the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals, both teams that are probably going to be competing for playoff spots this year for sure. Cincinnati, Detroit is going to be a team that's going to be in the thick of it. They have Aiden Hutchinson, who they drafted last year. If you put Chase Young on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson, that is a really dangerous combination. Cincinnati has Trey Hendrickson, who's a really good edge rusher, Sam Hubbard, who's not bad whatsoever. So, I could see why the Lions and Bengals would want to make this trade, but if I'm the Commanders, I'm not trading Young yet. I'm just not, at least not yet. I think that there's a couple things that need to happen with Chase in order for the Commanders to really consider trading him before the deadline. A, the Commanders need to be out of playoff contention, which seems very unlikely at this point because they're 2-0, right? They're looking like a pretty darn good football team. So if they're going to be right in the thick of the playoff race, why are you shipping away Chase Young, who is your starting defensive end? That doesn't make sense. And then number 2, Chase Young has to not be playing well enough to earn a contract extension. He's a free agent during the 2024 offseason, this upcoming offseason. And listen, Chase Young if he's playing well, why do you want him to leave the building? That doesn't make any sense. If he's producing, if he's really getting up there in the stat sheet, then why not give him that extension and make sure that he's a Washington Commander for a long time? So now coming up here on the Commanders Report, I'm going to tell you why Sam Howell is the future here in Washington at the quarterback position. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125 to get a 125% deposit bonus today. Now you might be asking, what the heck is a deposit bonus, Jack? That means if you put in a deposit on the BetUS website from $100 to $600, they're going to match that 125% for you to use on your bet. So for example, if you put in $100, they give you $125 additional dollars for free to use on your bet. So you're actually losing money if you don't take this opportunity and this deposit bonus, man. $225 total to use on your bets for just a $100 deposit. I think that's a fantastic deal. So if you love sports betting, just like I do. You want to use it on your NFL bets, college football bets, MLB, MLB playoffs are coming up here soon. If you love sports betting and you want to get this deposit bonus in your pocket today, go to chatsports.com/bet and use promo code CHAT125. Now let's talk about Sam Howell, and I'm about ready to say this, guys. Sam Howell looks like a legitimate, good starting NFL quarterback through the first 2 weeks of this season. I think that, this week's game against the Buffalo Bills is going to be that final test. If he can have a really good week against this really good Bills defense, I feel super confident that Sam Howell is going to be the guy here in Washington for years to come. You take a look at my scouting report here through the first 2 weeks. I'm loving the pocket presence and the movement, the ability to feel pressure, the ability to feel how the defensive line and offensive line are moving. He moves in the pocket super well, and he gets himself in a position to throw a strike down the field. That is a very rare gift that you don't see in many quarterbacks. Sam Howell has that, and he's been showing that through these first couple of weeks. Plus, he's got a really good arm. The mental processing, I really like that Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator, is allowing Sam to have a really good scheme in front of him, to have some really clean, easy reads. I love what Bieniemy's doing with this offense. The leadership is obviously fantastic, and he is super underrated as a runner as well. Has 1 rushing touchdown so far in 2023. The only con that I really had on him watching his film is that the footwork inconsistency is still there. He still brings his feet together in his hitches at times. He's not the most polished in terms of footwork. He's had those inconsistencies even going back to college, but overall looking very, very good. And I think that he's a good NFL starting QB at this point in his NFL career, which is extremely, extremely promising for somebody just in his second year in the National Football League. And listen, if you want to talk about accuracy, Sam Howell is among the most accurate passers in the league right now. On target percentage, that's the percentage of throws that are right at the wide receiver, right? It's not a difficult catch. The receiver doesn't have to reach up or anything like that. It's right there on the body, on the break. 83.6% of his throws are perfectly on target. That's third in the National Football League. That's absolutely incredible. For somebody that's had accuracy issues in the past, it seems like he's cleaned up some of those things this offseason, and it's completely transformed his game. Now, let me know where you think Sam Howell ranks among NFC East quarterbacks right now. Do you think he's first, second, third, or fourth? The NFC East has some pretty darn good quarterbacks. I think for sure he's above Daniel Jones at this point, but that's just me. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. So now we got something here with the Washington defense, where, of course, last year Jack Del Rio had this unit going pretty darn good. Montez Sweat broke out. Derek Forrest was a really nice player. Cam Curl was the second highest graded safety in football. It was a really good defense last year, and now with Chase Young coming in, with Emmanuel Forbes, the first-round pick coming in, the expectations were high, and I think that this unit is starting to meet those expectations. You take a look at some of these numbers that they've had over the first couple of weeks. In sacks right now, they're tied for first with the Dallas Cowboys, the team that many people are talking about as the best pass rush in football. The Commanders are tied with them for the most sacks in the league right now with 10 through 2 weeks. The turnovers, they're tied for 6 with 4 of them. Emmanuel Forbes had his first pick as a Commander last Sunday versus the Denver Broncos. Red zone percentage on defense tied for 4th with 33.3. So that's a fantastic number there for Jack Del Rio's unit. And then finally, the third down defense is even better there at 8th in the National Football League at 30.77%. And what these numbers tell me is that I think that this defense is going to be really good. I think that these numbers could get even better as the season goes on. Now, Josh Allen, the Bills offense this weekend, maybe those numbers go down a little bit this week, and then the next week against the Philadelphia Eagles. It's going to be a tough stretch of games here for the Commanders' defense to hold up. But listen, man, the defensive line is fantastic. I like the pieces they have in the secondary. You got Cody Barton, that inside linebacker who sucks. But, man, that's a fixable issue, especially in the middle of your defense. I like where the Commanders sit right now. I think that they're knocking on the door in terms of the top 10 teams in the National Football League right now. That might sound crazy, but that's where I'm at right now. The offensive line is a bit of a concern. The inside linebacker room is a little bit of a concern. But right now, man, this overall Commanders roster is impressing me, and I can't wait to see what they're going to be able to do here with a 2-0 record moving forward. So now, do you think that the Commanders' defense is top 5 in the National Football League? If you agree with that, type Y, or if you disagree with that, type N for me down there in the comment section. And that's going to be it for today's show, guys. If you made it to the end, that means you are a Washington Commanders Report Real One. So let me know down in the comment section who you guys are right now by typing Real One in all caps. Really do appreciate all of your support, guys. I will see you guys later. And until then, hail to the Commanders.